here's what's next. The drawers for the bedroom clothes. Well, the bedroom closet. This is where we put our clothes. Drawn out here, 6-pack of drawers. This is the wheel well area. We got 4 similar sized drawers and then a skinny drawer at the top for underoos and socks. And then this is where we'll put our t-shirts. We'll each get 3 drawers. That's it. I might steal one from you.
I probably only get 1 drawer. All right, y'all. This hurricane's got to get all straightened out. So we're gonna make some drawers. What do you think about that? Right here in the back of this cabinet, which is right below the panel, there's actually gonna be a curtain rod coming over here in the form of black iron pipe, something creative. And down here, we're gonna have a 3 stack on each side, so 6 total drawers. And first off, we need to figure out and calculate our dimensions. So we've got 41 and a half, 41 and a half. On this side, we've got 25 and a quarter, 25 and a quarter. Let's see, 25 and 3/4 right there. So it's not quite square, but that's life for you. Interior dimensions, there you go. We got 21 and 1/8 over there. All right, so we'll find our center right there. There's our center, and there's our center in the back. So now we can put in a divider piece on our centers. There we go. That fits real nice. 20 and a half and a little bit. 20 and a half and a little bit. There we go. So we're gonna tag in this first one here with a little Craigaroonie screw. And then on the back, the top, we're gonna center that. And also get a vertical. Make sure our vertical's nice. Look at that. Talk about a good eyeball on vertical. So let's throw in the screw here in the front, and then we'll make sure our back is also nice and tight. Look at that already. Got some Craig screw pocket holes already in there. In the back, I've marked where the center is on the top and the bottom. And so we're just going to knock this over until we get that right on the center. And make sure that we've got a nice square on that. This square might be a little too big. That looks good. And on this side. Good. I'll throw another one further back, and this will help stabilize the whole situation. Probably need to get a smaller square. Get a smaller square. All right, now that we have the divider in place, we can now figure out our drawer sizes. Aaron was talking about having 2 bigger ones and then 1 smaller one here at the top. So we'll measure our height and figure that out. So we have 21 and an 8. And our space is now, with the divider, 20 and a half and 20 and a half. Almost dead nut on both of those, so that's good. 20 and a half. All right, we did pretty good with getting that centerpiece nice and centered with 21 and an 1/8. If we did an 8-inch, that would be 16 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do 8, 8, and 5. Or we can make that one even smaller. Well, shoot, I think 8, 8, and 5 might work. And we'll subtract about an 1/8 inch from each one for wiggle room. Maybe a 1/4 inch for a wiggle room. And then have our mounting brackets on the side. We're gonna do a cool little slide-a-rooney. We're not doing typical drawer slides that you would see soft close. We're gonna go kind of old school, where it's just kind of a friction fit with some runners. And we're not going all old school where it's just wood on wood. We're gonna use some HDPE 1/2-inch material, kind of like the white cutting boards essentially is what it is. But we've got some bricks of that we're going to cut into strips to screw together. So that should be pretty cool. All right, y'all, so every single drawer is gonna have a few basic components that we're gonna be making, because we're gonna be making so many different drawers. We're gonna come over here to our drops. Where are they at? Right over here. We're gonna get all these drops and we're gonna figure out which drops will work for different parts of the drawer. So basically what we have is we have two sides. We have a front and we have a back, and then we have a bottom. So first off, we're gonna mock up one and hopefully make it an actual working drawer so we don't waste any of our wood, because wood is getting ridiculously expensive. If you haven't noticed, if you're building a bus, you definitely have noticed. Everything is getting more expensive. So we need to figure out how to maximize all of these little drops that we have back here from all of our projects and make sure that they can fit in one of the drawers. So 4 of the drawers in this stack are going to be the same size, and then the top 2 drawers are also going to be their own same size. So first we're going to start with the big ones, and we're going to work from the bottom up, because when we go and start installing the first 2 bottom drawers, after that we're going to get a new set of measurements to make sure that the next row up can fit with the top row, because we're going to give a little bit of wiggle room in these drawers so that they're able to slide in and out pretty smoothly. Now, earlier I was talking about how we're not going to be using the typical slides. We have right here HDPE sheets. These are 12 inches by 12 inches by a 1/2 inch thick. And what we're going to do is we're going to rip these out, and these are going to be attached to the sides of the drawer compartments so that the drawer itself can slide on these pretty freaking smooth. So you're gonna wanna wait and see what that looks like and how we get this cut and how we get attached, so that we don't have to buy drawer slides, because this stuff is way cheaper. I think we bought 3 sheets of this, I think, for the price of 1 drawer slide set. And this should be able to take care of quite a few drawers if we're cutting it only little 1/2 inch strips. So let's go and grab some drops now and get them measured, as well as get them cut and ready for assembly. All right, so I found a drop that looks like it'll be good for the front pieces. And we just need to make sure that it is square. And if it's not square, we need to make it square. So far, this side here looks pretty square. So we're gonna go off of that edge, and that side there looks like it's pretty square as well. Let's see about this side. Ooh, that one's really square also. That's good, that's good. Let's see if this side is squarer than the other side. Oh, that's even more square. Okay, this is our concrete corner here. So we need this, this will be the face because we need 2 pieces, 18.5 by 18.5. 18.5. Well, I just finished cutting the front and the back pieces, and I'm a 1/16 of an inch too short. I hope that doesn't matter too much on these drawers. Time to cut the sides. So I found 2 drops over there that I can get 2 of the side pieces out. So we're gonna chop those up next. Practically perfect. Close enough. Because they're close enough, let's go screw them together. All right, so there's the bottom. Looks nice. All right, so for these pieces here, we need to put some Craig screws on the faces. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Nice. That one goes there, that one goes there. Awesome, Sandaroonie time. New battery! The other one ran out of juice. Like when I normally get started on things, it starts running out. It's just part of the game, right? All right, so let's see. We've got these pieces all sanded down now. Let's see. Looks pretty nice. We're gonna attach the sides first. And now, yeah, so the sides and the front and everything. So the thing about putting drawers together is if we had, let me rephrase this. The thing about putting drawers together with Craig screws is if we had a right angle clamp, we could easily just clamp the hole and have a nice right angle. But we don't have a right angle clamp, so we're gonna use what we have and work to the best of our ability. So this should be kind of precarious because we need to be able to balance all these guys, get it clamped together, and then set the right angle on it, and then set some Craig screws. So hopefully these Irwin quick grip clamps are big enough, and it feels like this one's gonna be plenty big enough. I just gotta, oh, this is gonna be quite a show here, guys, that's for sure. All right, so let's get this one set towards the bottom and just start applying pressure so this thing starts holding together, and then we could do some minor adjustments while, there we go. Alright, that one's good. Alright, this one says it goes to 18 inches, so I'm not sure. Yep, it's not going to reach. So we're going to just keep this side propped up while we do this. And hopefully we can find a nice square on this guy here. Squeeze it nice and tight. We've got to get this thing flat on its base. also, which is fine. Let's see, let's push this guy that way and this way. That guy that way. And it's kind of skewed. Oh yeah, we just leave that guy laying down on his side. So if I can get this thing square on the base, then theoretically it should be pretty square. That's level, that's level. There we go, that's level there now. And I'll squeeze that a little tighter. All right, that is good. Shoot, fly. All right, so for the 1/2" plywood, I am using 1/2" Craig screws. Actually, 1" Craig screws. Pretty good. That one came out a little bit because I messed up on that hole, which is what perpetuated. Typically I don't use an angle grinder on my wood projects, but that that screw was sticking out and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just angle grind the tip of the screw off, and that should help us out quite a bit. And guess what? It did. So never rule out a potential tool when you're building something. Keep your mind open and think of what the tools are capable of and what's presenting in that moment. So far, this drawer set is looking real nice. I think Girl's gonna really like it. Girl. Look at that. I'll get rid of that for the last one. Very nice. Didn't have any poking out on that one. We do have, this one's a little bit higher on this corner. It's flat on the bottom, so I'm just gonna take it down with the sander just a little bit. So next up, we need to put the bottom on this box. And hopefully, bottom looks good. So what we'll do is we're going to square up this box as we go. So we're going to attach one edge, and then after that we're going to push the other edge into alignment. Also, something we're going to do is we're going to use wood glue. So typically you can use screws to screw the bottoms on the box if you think that you're ever going to take them apart. For us, we're not going to ever take this apart. So I'm gonna use wood glue on this bottom edge here, and then we'll use probably brads to hold it together because the wood glue will be plenty strong enough to hold the bottom on while we're bumping down the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get one edge here, so this bottom edge in place where I want it, nice and flush to the edge. Grab a clamp and clamp it down nice and tight. Grab the other clamp. Also clamp that side down. There we go. And then throw in a couple of brads. Help hold it in place while it dries. And once it dries, it'll be pretty much bomb-proof. All right, so let me go one diagonal the other direction. All right, so now that that one is done, I'm gonna take this off. Nice, it's holding real good. Now I'm gonna flip it around this direction so that I can see the next side, and then I'm gonna set this next side, which should set both. Yep, it did. So now I'm gonna grab the clamps and clamp this together, which basically it squares up. Oh, loosen that a little bit. There we go. Alright, so this edge seems to be a little bit warped. So what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to get a screw. See how it's kind of dipped down here? I might be able to actually push down on it while I screw that in. Alright, let's see if that... Perfecto! So we'll leave that screw in for a moment while this thing dries up, but we'll continue to hit it with some brads. There we go. Nice. Now all of the glue dribbles, just sop that up on the fingertip. It'll dry clear. I just like to smooth it out. A little bit OCD at times. And then we'll sand it up again also. First drawer done. All right, y'all, it is the next day. Our box is nice and dried. We're gonna pull off the screws off the bottom, and then we also need to put in the channel where the little rails will glide against. So these rails are gonna be screwed to the box of the cabinet, and then we'll have strips of plywood on either side so that this can slide back and forth, and we'll measure it out, make a jig and stuff like that. So let's get to work and build some more boxes also. So here on the side, we need to find our center. So this is 7.5 inches by, it should be 7.5 inches both sides. Yep, dead nut, 7.5. So that would give us 3 3/4 for our center. So we need a piece of plywood. Here's a drop. It's not square, but I'll need to probably square it up because this is going to be part of the rail system. So basically there's going to be a strip here and a strip there that the drawer can slide on. Y'all, this HDPE is actually really good stuff. It's really good stuff because it doesn't break down very easily and it stays super slippery. So instead of, and so that's where we got the idea to use this, is because it's super, super sturdy, and I believe it'll be able to hold the weight of the drawer. We shall see. So the drawer is going to be hanging down, so we need to be sure that we've got a nice solid piece for the top edge. And it also needs to be square, like this piece isn't square here. So I'm thinking of doing maybe like 1 inch or so. Let's see what this is. This is 1 3/8 inches. But I think if we did 1 inch on top and then 1 inch on bottom and have it go the entire way. But I think that the piece I'm actually gonna cut to the 25 inches, the full length. That way it's got a full ride. And there's gonna be 2 on each one of these. That way it's got full support when it's out or when it's in. Pow, just like that. There's a strip, 1 inch. We'll cut that. And then I was thinking that it might be cool to create a jig that is the distance from the bottom edge to where the top edge needs to be, right here, or the bottom edge of this to the bottom edge of that, and then also one for down here. That way, literally, you just hold a board up and then set this on there, glue it, shoot it in with some brads. I think I might make one of those too. Basically, it's just a little block of wood, so I might have 1 block all the way across. And that'll also be the same little jig that we use inside the cabinet, because then I'll be able to use the bottom version of it and say, okay, if this is in the cabinet, then we can just set, like let's say this was the jig, then we can just set this on top of the rail, screw this into the cabinet box, and then it'll be at the right height. Like it'll obviously be higher, but that way it's level and both sides are the same height. Because like we don't want it to be tilted forward, back, left, right, or anything like that, because it's got to be able to come in and out pretty smooth. And I was thinking, oh, I'll just use my tape measure and measure. Well, there's variances that happen whenever you start screwing something in. Sometimes it wiggles or moves on you. And so if you've got something nice and firm like this, then you can have the piece of wood on the bottom edge and then of the cabinet, and then just hold this to it, and then it'll keep that piece from moving around. So I'll probably do that also for the cabinet, but it'll probably be the same as the piece that I use for here for getting this to be perfectly level. So something else that I was thinking about is, okay, so this is going to be sliding in and out. We have to have some sort of room underneath it so that the bottom is not rubbing on the bottom of the cabinet, because that'll produce too much friction. And if it's not perfectly level, it might have some hang-ups. So I measured this out to have 1/4 inch of room above it and below it, so that there's at least a little bit of wiggle room, and it also gives us a little bit of space for swelling, contracting of the wood, because wood does that. Wood it varies with moisture and humidity. Too much moisture, not enough moisture, expands, contracts, and all that good stuff. So as I'm developing the boxes for this, for the space, these are all things that are just kind of going in my head, and I'd literally just sit there and look at something for a while, and then I'm just like, what if I did this? Well, what if this happens? What if we're driving down the road and this happens? And just thinking about the motion of the bus bouncing down the road. Is what we're doing going to be strong enough? Is this drawer going to be strong enough to hold clothes? Because clothes can become heavy, especially if you've got like denims and stuff like that in there. And is it too big? Because if you have a drawer that's too big, then you're going to have a lot of dead air space. So this is basically something that is sized for being able to fold your clothes up and get them stacked in a nice row. And it's thick enough that if we want to put in dividers or something like that, we'll be able to do that as well. So, but for right now, we'll look at dividers and organization later. Getting the box in the bus so that we can start putting our clothes in it is of the utmost importance. And Erin was talking about that she wants to varathane these, and I think that's a great idea because then that will help kind of lock in the wood, keep any splinters from ever happening. This is finished grade birch, so, and it's 1/2 inch, and we used full 1/2 inch bottoms on this. Reason for a 1/2 inch bottom is we didn't have to go get a blade to make a dado cut inside the side here and to slide like a little piece of 1/8 inch like mahogany or something, or cedar or something nice, oak in the bottom, because that was going to be an extra step and extra work and extra expense. And we're all like, okay, well, how can we keep this as inexpensive as possible, but as strong as possible? And honestly, a 1/2 inch bottom is way stronger than the 1/8 inch. So I think that this is it's gonna be an overkill box, but we're using cabinet grade ply here, so it should come out pretty freaking nice. All right, so a lot of the pieces that I'm gonna be making that are these small pieces, I'm gonna make out of drops that are kind of funny shapes, because I don't know what I'm gonna do with all of these, but as long as they're 25 inches long and I can cut them down to 1 inch, why not use a funny piece, right? It'll still work. Alrighty, so I've got these 2 pieces of wood. This one's 4 and 1/16 tall, and then this one here is 3 1/2 tall, because whenever the slide it's going to go in between here. Let me show you how this is going to work out. I am installing the top rail first. Now this is the one that is going to have top pressure on it. Maybe I won't use this janky one. I'll use that one on the bottom one. Let's see. We'll use this one on the top. That one looks real nice. So I'm putting a nice line of glue right here in the middle. Nice healthy bead there. So on a flat-ish surface, I'm putting the jig in place, basically that piece of wood, and then I'm gonna plop down the rail, and I want to make sure it is flush on the front edge so that it doesn't try to poke out, and then we'll put some brads in. Make sure we're not blowing through. It's looks like it might be wanting to go through a little bit, so what I'll do is start shooting them at a slight angle instead. Perfect. All right, slight angle it is. So all these brads are doing is holding this piece of wood in place as it dries, as the glue dries. So if you've never seen a brad before, they're not very long. They're not very thick either, but it's just enough to hold these pieces in place. So now that that piece is in place right there, I'll pull this off, set it to the side. We're gonna hang on to that, and then we'll put the 3 1/2 in place. You know what? That's exactly where the top edge of the rail needs to be. So for this particular one, it actually needs to be, we need to cut this 3 1/2 down 1 inch. So this actually needs to be 2 1/2. But for right now, what I'm gonna do is trim 1 inch off of this, and then I'll be right back. I'm back, and you probably didn't even know I was gone. All right, so I've got this at 2 1/2 inches now. I had not measured properly on the last jig for the bottom one. So the top one is 4 1/16, and then the bottom one is 2 1/2, because these rails here are 1 inch. And so the idea is that this piece here will be able to slide in and around this area. And instead of making it like the perfect 1/2 inch, I got a 1/16 inch variation there, or allowance. That way there's a little bit of wiggle room so that the drawer will slide in and out pretty freely. So let's go ahead, and now that I've remocked that up, let's go ahead and put a bead of glue on this rail. And we have the 2.5 in place, and then we'll set this, and we'll match up that front edge also like the top one. And we'll also do at a slight angle on this one as well. And to the back. There we go. Those are good, they didn't pop through. Now let's pull the jig out of the way, and then let's try out our little rail and see how that goes. Nice! That is going to slide nicely. So we're going to flip this around and do the other side as well. Let's start with the top one. There it is. This is why using a jig is so wonderful. It's because you can really just set it up how you like it, and then it makes putting things together a lot smoother. Yeah, there it goes. So now this guy literally is almost ready to be installed. The only thing left is I really want to wait till the glue dries on both of these so that these rails are nice and tight to hold the weight. So I'm going to set them over here and put its little rails in there, and now we'll batch make 3 more this size. I got 2 drawers ready with the sides on. They're finally dry, the glue. So let's set you right here. And let's dry fit the bottom one. I had labeled which side's the bottom. Dry fit this one in, and then we need to figure out a jig of some sort so that we can figure out how high. Oh, that's nice. That'll work. Like, even with pushing weight down on it, it doesn't even flex at all. This is great. All right, so the next drawer up needs to be a 1/4 inch taller than this drawer here. So this drawer here is 7 3/4 on that edge. Right. And 7 3/4 on this edge. So if the next drawer up, if the bottom starts at 8, then that would be excellent. That way there's just a little bit of room for them to glide past each other. That'll be about a 1/4 inch or so. So just like we used this piece of wood right here to space the rail for this one, we need to create another piece of wood. So we'll pull this drawer out that will sit on top of that spacer, and then we'll be able to put the next line in. All right, I'm gonna do some math and figure this out. After some clever calculations, I figured that this little board needs to separate these two by 7 1/4 inches. So hopefully that's true, because I'm going to screw this in and we'll see what happens. Two rails are in both sides. We still have one more drawer to do, but I gotta put these 2 drawers in here to figure out how much room I have left before cutting this drawer out. I figured it'd be easiest to do it that way. Oh, sorry guys, knocked you over. Just trying to give you front row seats. Pretty snug. Let's see if it goes better on the bottom. If anything, I can always sand that down. That one fits good there. Maybe this one likes the bottom better. Drawer fronts to put on it. This one's pretty smooth. This one's a little bit snug. So I think that it might be these 2 rails here, and maybe over here also might be a little snug on the HDPE, but that's fine. I'd rather them be a little bit snug like this, and then just they wear down over time. Alright, so right here is what the cutout hole looks like, and on this one I've already done the plunge cut with the circular saw, and you've seen me do plunge cuts in other parts of the build. But basically what I did was I figured out where the center is on the board here on the face by measuring the length here, and just put a dot where the center is, and then figure out where the center is here, so that I can get our little template centered in this little area. And what I found to be faster was find where the high point and the low point's gonna be. Then I'll take the big square, once I mark one line there and one line down here, take the big square and then draw a line all the way across on both of those, and then find where the edges are gonna be by just placing the template on there, making a little line, and then continuing the lines with this. After that...
How was my template?
Your template was wonderful. So there's what the template looks like, and to find the center on this, I just folded it in half, made a crease, folded it in half this way, made a crease, and then that's my centers. So the center lined up on the dot, and then I would make my line, and then use the square to do a square line from based off the bottom and this to the sides. And then after that, I was left with little square corners. And then Aaron was using the 1 3/8 hole saw bit. And what we did was we would just set it touching the lines, almost touching the lines because the pencil's a little bit wide. And then just trace a little curve from one edge to the other. And then jigsaw that out. And that's this part. There's more to this to get the Rattan in there.
Rattan.
Oh, Rattan's an island in Honduras.
We got another one ready to toss some rattan in. Oh, you guys didn't get to see the first one. Let's go show you. And then we'll show you how we did this. Guys, we took a break from the camera for a bit. Right? Sorry. It's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of steps to these drawers, and it's my fault. And we just want to get them done.
So we had to set the camera down so we could figure out what the heck we were doing. Because we'd never done this before, just like everything else in this Skoolie build. So Here we go. This is what the finished thing looks like. How cute is that?
Now it just needs to be blown with the air compressor, and then I can put very thin on it.
Yeah. So we're going to show you how we did that.
Yeah.
We already showed you all the drawers. You already seen all that, right?
Yeah. So Brian last night showed you the plunge cuts. I did not. We're probably going to be doing this to like a few cupboard doors. Not very many because this is one hell of a job. But we'll probably show you the plunge cuts and jigsaw and whatever another time. But Brian basically did a plunge cut for all the straightaways. And then I took the jigsaw and did all the curves. And then the piece fell out. We sanded them and took the faceplate off, and we're going to show you that now. Let's do this.
All right, so this is one that has the face already cut out through both thicknesses. So we need to set this up and get the face off and then route out the inside. So we've got the little screws on the inside that we'll remove, and that takes the face of the drawer off.
While this is still together, after the corners are freshly cut, I'm just gonna go in here and sand everything nice and smooth while it's together, and then we get to that step where we take it apart. Four and a quarter. 14 and a quarter. Ooh, right down the split. I'm gonna go a little on the outside edge of this because I don't want to cut like straight down a seam.
Mm-hmm. Do you need me to route that hole a little wider? So you just cut right in the middle of the holes?
Yeah, if you do it to 4.5,
yeah.
Like add another quarter to it.
Cool.
And then I'll cut this at 4.5.
Cool. Cut that to 4.5, then we'll hold it to it, then we'll trace it.
Yep.
And then.
So we need another 1/2 inch at the end too.
Yep.
Four and a half.
Yeah, because then that falls in the middle.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Ooh, that's sharp. The only problem with doing it this way is we don't know what the rattan's going to look like.
You're saying you want to put it like this?
Because then you could start at your end and like, I just want to be able to see what it looks like, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely learned a ton varathaning, and I think that the best advice I can give you is to do 3 coats and lay them on pretty thin. Your first one especially, you don't want to go crazy on it and you don't want to leave any dribble drips. All of the things that I've done the full 3 coats on have looked amazing, and they progressively build on each other as you go. So the final finish is actually really nice. It's kind of matte, but has like a bit of a glossy, slick feel, but doesn't feel like gross or fake or plasticky. It actually feels really nice. And I've found that with all the different types of wood that we've put it on so far, it stays really true to its natural color, or the color that it is. It just kind of like deepens the tone just a little, but it doesn't cause any yellowing or anything like that. So I'm really enjoying it. Once I get up to this part here, I'm just going really, really slow. I'll show you in this crevice. And oh, there's a fly just landed in my very little jerk. The flies here are insane. Get out of here. So, you have a small amount, and then when you go around the edge, you just want to kind of lightly go around this edge, and you're not gobbing it on. You're just kind of hitting the edge really nice and light. It's kind of hard to film on my own here, but I want to make sure that I got all the edges so that they're really easy to clean. And the last thing that I found really important with the varathane is that you go with the grain. If you go with the grain, it looks stunning. I found that when I go against the grain, it hasn't looked so nice. So I always correct it and make sure that my final brush strokes are with the grain, and it looks super clean. Some of you might wonder why our grains tend to go a bunch of different directions, and honestly, it's because we don't want to put random silly cuts in the middle of our plywood. We're trying our best to get the most out of our plywood, since the dang old stuff has gone up like 20-30 bucks since we started buying the nice birch plywood. So we want to make sure that we get as much out of them as possible. So we don't really care if the grains all go in the same direction. Not important to us at all.
Okay, and before I put the drawer over in the done pile, all I do is take a quick walk around and make sure there's no dribble drips.
Dribble drip!
Classic places for dribble drips to happen are right in where the screw holes are. So I'll just kind of go in there and I'll wipe those pieces out if there's drips. Looks pretty good. That's because I haven't been putting too thick of a coat on. When you put too much on, it'll usually drool from all the screw holes and stuff. Got these beauties Varathaned on the bottom side. And the faces. Tomorrow, I'll flip them over and do the bellies. Okay, this is ready for drawers. Damn, those are pretty.
Now it's time to get our butts organized.